Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real. We all have that one person who drains us, who makes us feel small, who takes and takes until we question our worth. But here's the truth no one tells you. You are not obligated to water someone else's garden while your own soul is drying up. You ever notice how the loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure one? The ones who constantly yell, manipulate, guilt trip, or throw tantrums? Those are not powerful people. That's desperation dressed as dominance. Let them shout. Let them accuse. Let them twist words. You rise above. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, that's the moment you take your power back. Think of it like this. Imagine someone keeps knocking at your door, screaming outside, demanding attention. If you keep opening the door every time, they'll keep coming. But the day you stop responding, the day the door stays shut and quiet, they lose. They're left yelling at silence. That's the power you hold when you don't react. Let me take you to a real life situation. You're in a relationship, maybe it's romantic, maybe it's family. This person constantly disrespects you. They say things like you're too sensitive, or you're imagining things every time you call them out. They invalidate your emotions, flip the script, and suddenly you're the villain for standing up for yourself. So you start arguing back, defending, proving, and guess what? You fall into their trap. That's what they want. Attention, control, chaos. Now flip the script. The next time they try to trigger you, you just smile, stay calm, and say nothing. You leave their message on read. You walk out of the room. You don't yell. You don't cry. You don't engage. Suddenly, the game isn't fun for them anymore. Why? Because you've taken away the thing they crave most, your energy. In the workplace, it's the same. Maybe a colleague keeps taking credit for your work or makes sly comments to undermine you. You can choose to fight, to gossip, to stoop to their level, or you can let your silence be your strength. Show them your success and results, not rebuttals. Nothing hurts a toxic person more than being ignored by someone who's too busy winning. And don't get it twisted. Silence is not weakness. It takes immense strength to hold back, to not clap back, to not defend yourself when you're falsely accused. It's the kind of discipline warriors have, because you're not silent out of fear. You're silent because you're focused. Because you're done wasting breath on people who only hear their own noise. Do you remember those moments in life where you argued, begged, tried to make someone see your worth, and all you got was pain in return? Remember how drained you felt afterward? Now think of the peace that came the day you stopped replying, the day you stopped explaining yourself. That peace? That's your soul telling you, this is what healing feels like. Silence creates mystery. It forces people to reflect. It makes them uncomfortable. Because suddenly they can't predict you. And when a toxic person can't predict your next move, they lose their power. You stop being their puppet. You become the master of your emotions. You no longer feed their ego. You starve it. And in that stillness, in that silence, you rise. Silence is elegant. It's royal. It doesn't chase. It doesn't justify. And the people who respect you won't need explanations. The ones who don't deserve one. Let your silence teach them what your words never could. There comes a moment in life when you realize peace doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from protecting your energy, from choosing yourself, from setting a boundary and refusing to feel guilty about it. And here's the hard truth. The people who get angry when you set boundaries are the exact people who benefited from you having none. So set them. Set them boldly. Set them like a boss. You're not a doormat. You're not a sponge meant to absorb everyone's pain while yours goes ignored. You are not selfish for saying, I can't give that right now. You are not rude for choosing your mental health over someone else's manipulation. You are not heartless for saying no. In fact, no is one of the most powerful words you'll ever learn to say. And mean it. Take this example. Let's say you've got a friend who only calls you when they need something. Never checks on you, never supports you, but the moment they're in trouble, your phone rings, and out of kindness or habit, you keep answering, you keep giving, and slowly you start to resent it. You feel drained, unseen, used. But the minute you start replying with, hey, I can't help this time, that's not friendship. That's dependency. And your boundary is the cure. In family too, boundaries are crucial. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they get to violate your peace. Maybe it's a parent who constantly criticizes your choices, invades your space, belittles your dreams. You've been taught to endure it out of respect, to smile through the hurt. But respect is not slavery. You can love someone and still say, I need space. You can be grateful and still say, this conversation is not healthy for me. Boundaries don't mean you stop caring. They mean you start caring for yourself too. At work, it might be the boss who expects you to reply to emails at midnight or take on extra work without recognition. You keep saying yes to look reliable, to keep the peace, to stay on their good side. But slowly, your life becomes work. Your weekends vanish. Your identity becomes a job title. Until one day you say, I won't be available after 6 p.m. And suddenly, you're not the favorite anymore. But guess what? You're finally free. Because you taught them how to treat you. People treat you based on the standards you allow. If you keep letting someone cross the line, eventually they'll forget the line was ever there. So draw it in bold. Paint it with fire if you must. And don't just whisper it. Enforce it. A boundary is only as strong as your willingness to stick to it when it's tested. You want to know what confidence looks like? It's saying, I don't argue anymore. I don't chase anymore. I don't break myself to fit into places that can't hold me. That's the energy of a person who's healed. That's the energy of someone who's unshakable. You don't fight for space. You create it. You don't wait to be invited. You walk away from tables where respect isn't being served. In relationships, it's powerful too. Imagine dating someone who keeps pushing your limits, testing your patience, disrespecting your time. You used to explain, cry, compromise, but now you say, this is my standard, this is my limit. If you can't meet me here, then don't meet me at all. That's when they either rise up or fade out. And either way you win. Because your self-worth is no longer up for negotiation. Boundaries aren't walls to shut the world out. They're gates that decide who gets in and who doesn't. You're not blocking love. You're filtering out the harm. You're not building distance. You're building value. And the people who truly see you will never be threatened by your boundaries. They'll be grateful for them. Because they know that anything protected has value. You are not a sponge for other people's negativity. You are a mirror, strong, reflective, and grounded. Let that sink in. Just because someone throws their anger at you, their bitterness, their emotional mess, it doesn't mean you have to carry it. You don't absorb their poison. You reflect it back. You say, this isn't mine to hold. And that is the secret of emotional power. Learning how to witness without becoming. Think about it. Someone walks into your day with a storm cloud over their head. Maybe it's your coworker snapping at you in the morning meeting. You didn't do anything wrong, but they dump their frustration onto you like you're their emotional trash bin. In the past, you'd absorb it. You'd replay their words in your head all day. You'd second guess yourself, shrink, lose your spark. But now, you've learned better. You pause, you breathe, and you realize it's their storm, not yours. So you mirror, not absorb. You stay calm, composed, unmoved. Their storm doesn't drown you. It passes right by. This mindset is even more important in relationships. Maybe you're dating someone whose moods shift like weather. One day they love you, the next day they tear you down. They're fighting their own demons, but they expect you to fight them too. You used to internalize their words, thinking, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm not enough. You twist yourself into emotional knots just to fix what they refuse to heal, but not anymore. You've realized what they project is a reflection of their wounds, not your worth. So now you stand tall. You don't react. You observe. You mirror. You protect your energy like royalty protects the crown. Even in family, this is crucial. Maybe your parent or sibling is toxic. Maybe they constantly shame you for your choices. Say things like, "Why can't you be more like them?" Or "You're always so difficult." And you carry that pain around like it's part of your DNA. But it's not. It's generational hurt dressed up as tradition. And when you choose not to absorb it, when you simply hold a mirror to it and say, "I see your pain, but I will not make it mine," you break the cycle. You set yourself free. Every single day we are surrounded by energies, some nurturing, some draining. And you've got to decide, will you be a sponge or a shield? A mirror doesn't get stained by what it reflects. A mirror simply shows the truth. It holds its clarity, no matter what stands before it. And that's how you live, with clear boundaries, with emotional detachment from other people's chaos. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to stay sane. Let me give you one more picture. You're at a social event. Someone tries to provoke you, maybe with a rude comment, a jealous jab, or a passive-aggressive dig. In the past, you might have snapped, felt triggered, carried their words with you for days. But now, you've upgraded. You look at them, smile with elegance, and walk away. No anger, no explanation, just quiet power. Because queens don't wrestle with clowns. They mirror, then move on. You have to understand, emotional intelligence is not about being calm when life is calm. You have to understand, emotional intelligence is not about being calm when life is calm. It's about staying centered when everything around you is loud, messy, or hurtful. It's about choosing to respond, not react. It's the choice to be the mirror, not the sponge. Because once you stop absorbing people's poison, you start protecting your peace. And peace, my love, is your most powerful weapon. They'll come at you with disrespect, with sarcasm, with petty energy that screams insecurity. When someone throws shade, you don't throw it back. You walk into the sunlight where their darkness can't follow. Why? Because your vibe is too expensive to waste on cheap energy. Let them talk, let them hate, let them try to pull you down. You're not on their level anymore. You're focused on growth, on peace, on becoming untouchable, not in ego but in self-worth. And that's a glow they can't stand because it exposes their own shadow. Imagine being in the workplace where someone constantly tries to undercut you. They speak over you in meetings, they gossip behind your back, they plant doubts in other people's minds. The easy reaction? Get petty, get revenge, match their bitterness. But you choose different. You show up sharper, more prepared, more confident. You let your work speak so loud it silences their noise. You elevate while they evaporate. You don't match their energy. You make their energy irrelevant. Think about friendships too. Maybe you've outgrown someone. Their conversations are still stuck in drama, comparison, and small talk. Every time you bring up your dreams or healing journey, they roll their eyes or make you feel too much. The temptation is to shrink, to dim your light, just to blend in again. But no, You don't lower your frequency to stay in someone's comfort zone. You raise it and give them a choice. Rise with you or fall away. Because when you level up, not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be aligned with the right ones. In love, this applies deeply. Maybe you were with someone who played games, hot and cold, distant, then needy, sweet, then toxic. And you kept matching that energy, thinking if you became just a little colder, they'd wake up. But all it did was drain you. So you stopped. You stopped trying to win a game that wasn't worthy of your effort. You stopped dancing to their beat. You started healing, glowing, rebuilding. And just like that, you became the lesson they'll never forget. Even in public spaces, this rule holds power. Someone cuts you off in traffic or snaps at you in a store. You could scream, you could curse, but instead, you breathe, you choose grace over chaos. Because every time you respond with maturity instead of impulse, you rewrite your story. You tell the universe, I'm not like them. I'm growing. I'm rising. That's strength. That's elegance. That's the difference between noise and class. The world will always offer you the option to match low energy. But that's not your destiny. Your destiny is to be so high vibe, so self-aware, that no one can pull you into places you've already evolved from. You didn't come this far just to become the person you left behind. You came to become a standard, a light, a reminder that peace is not weakness, it's power under control. You don't get revenge by being toxic back. You get revenge by becoming so focused, so elevated, so in love with your own life that their negativity becomes background static to your symphony of success. So next time someone tries you, remember this: matching energy is easy. Leveling up? That's divine. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every toxic person is worthy of a reaction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away without a war. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Because you've mastered the art of choosing peace over chaos, your future over your pride, your dignity over drama. You don't always need closure. You don't need a grand exit. You don't need to scream, "You'll regret this," or prove a point to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you from the start. Sometimes the loudest statement is your silence. The greatest revenge is your growth. And the most unforgettable goodbye is one where you don't say a single word. Let's talk about relationships. You loved deeply, gave your all, tried to fix what they refused to face. They gaslighted you, played mind games, drained your soul. You wanted to scream, to expose the truth, to destroy them with receipts and rage. But then you paused. You remembered who you are. You realized that proving them wrong would only keep you entangled in the very mess you've outgrown. So you chose to walk away. no warning, no fight, just a clean exit with your crown still on. And that silence, that's what echoes. That's what haunts them. Because they expected fire, but you gave them cold elegance. Even in friendships, this is true. Maybe someone betrayed you, talked behind your back, competed with you in secret, and the old you would have blasted screenshots, exposed every lie, started a war just to clear your name. But the new you, the elevated version, knows that not everyone deserves your side of the story. Let people believe what they want. Your truth doesn't need validation. It needs freedom. So you walk away, not to be petty, but to protect your peace. That's power. Think about your workplace. A colleague undermines you. Your boss disrespects your ideas. Your value is ignored. The immature response would be to lash out, burn bridges, storm out in dramatic fashion. But you update your resume. You network in silence. You secure your next level while still smiling at the ones who underestimated you. And then, one day, you leave, not in anger, but in evolution. You don't slam the door, you just build a better one. Even with family, walking away without war is strength. Maybe your boundaries aren't respected. Maybe your identity is criticized. You've tried to explain yourself, to be the bigger person, to fix the broken dynamic. But healing doesn't always mean staying. Sometimes it means loving from a distance. It means no dramatic showdown, no final speech, just space, just silence, just healing on your own terms. And let's not forget strangers, the rude cashier, the driver who cuts you off, the internet troll. Are they really worth your energy? Is it worth dimming your light for someone who doesn't even know your name? No. You smile. You breathe. You let it go. Because people who are at war within themselves will always try to bring conflict to others. But you've learned to walk away. Not to be passive, but to protect the energy that builds empires. Walking away without a war isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's self-respect. It's emotional maturity in a world addicted to drama. The ones who try to drag you into chaos want a show. Don't give it to them. Give them absence. Give them silence. Give them a version of you that no longer reacts. Because nothing terrifies toxic people more than a person who chooses peace over performance. They left. They ghosted. They betrayed. They underestimated you. And maybe they expected you to break, to fall apart, to beg for closure or crawl back to them for validation. But instead, you glowed. Not just a little, like a quiet sparkle in the dark. No. And with every breath, every step, every little decision to focus on your growth, you became the woman they swore would need them forever. That glow? It's not just beauty. It's revenge without bitterness. A comeback with no announcement. A transformation so loud, it silences everything they once said about you. Think about that ex who said, "You'll never find someone like me." And they were right. You didn't. You found better, but not just in someone else. You found better in yourself. You stopped waiting for text messages to feel worthy. You stopped interpreting mixed signals like they were poetry. You stopped making excuses for their neglect. And now, you walk with a confidence that makes people turn their heads. Not because of how you look, but because of how you carry the storm you survived. In friendships too, that one friend who ghosted you when life got good for you, who only clapped for you when you were losing, not when you were winning. They thought your shine depended on their support, but you turned their absence into fuel. You invested in new habits, built new dreams, found your tribe. You stopped shrinking to fit their comfort zone and started expanding into the woman you were always meant to be. And now, your glow exposes their shadow without you having to say a single word. Even in work or school, maybe someone doubted you. A teacher, a boss, a coworker who made you feel small. Maybe they rolled their eyes when you shared your dreams. Maybe they whispered, "She's not built for this." And instead of arguing, instead of proving your worth to people committed to misunderstanding your power, you just glowed up. You started showing up earlier, learning harder, evolving faster, until one day they couldn't ignore you anymore. Not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it. Daily life, that's where this glow really shines. When you choose to get up and work out, journal your emotions, set goals, say no to drama, say yes to peace, that's glow. When you drink your water, mind your business, and stay low-key, while everything in you is leveling up, that's glow. When you don't retaliate, don't defend, don't seek revenge, but you still win, that's the glow they can't stand. And the one they can never touch. The glow isn't about flexing, it's not about making them jealous or proving a point, it's deeper than that. It's about rising so high within yourself that the people who left you feel your energy even when you're nowhere near. It's about becoming so full of joy, purpose and self-love that their memory fades in the brilliance of your new beginning. They thought you'd be lost without them. Instead, you became a lighthouse. They thought you'd chase. Instead, you chose peace. They thought you'd burn. Instead, you lit up the world. And now listen carefully, because if you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who started this journey. You are no longer the woman who tolerated disrespect in the name of love. You are no longer the soul who begged for attention in rooms you were born to own. You've changed. You've grown. And most importantly, you've woken up. They called you too much. But what they didn't realize is you were never too much. You were just too real for people addicted to fakeness. You were too deep for shallow minds. Too loyal for people who thrive in betrayal. And now, you don't apologize for that. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You rise, you roar, you reign. You don't chase anymore. You attract. Because when you heal, when you glow, when you set boundaries with grace and walk away without bitterness, you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose. And people can feel that shift. Your silence becomes louder than any scream. Your energy becomes the filter that repels the weak and welcomes the strong. Because when a woman evolves, she doesn't announce it, she arrives. No one talks about the power of becoming unrecognizable. The version of you that used to cry at night for closure, she's gone. The one who waited by the phone, hoping they'd come back and see your worth, she evolved. The woman who used to doubt her glow every time someone walked away, she turned that doubt into discipline and that pain into power. Let the world underestimate you. Let them think you're soft, emotional, too sensitive. Because that same heart they tried to break, it became your compass. That same soul they mocked for being too emotional. And now listen carefully, because if you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who started this journey. You are no longer the woman who tolerated disrespect in the name of love. You are no longer the soul who begged for attention in rooms you were born to own. You've changed. You've grown. And most importantly, you've woken up. They called you too much. But what they didn't realize is you were never too much. You were just too real for people addicted to fakeness. You were too deep for shallow minds. Too loyal for people who thrive in betrayal. And now, you don't apologize for that. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You rise, you roar, you reign. You don't chase anymore. You attract. Because when you heal, when you glow, when you set boundaries with, you don't have to scream to be heard anymore. You are not for everyone, and that's your superpower. Let them go. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Your only job now is to become the woman you promised yourself you'd be when no one else believed in you. So shine. Shine so bold that the ones who lost you feel it in their soul. Shine so bold that your past versions stare at you in awe. Shine so unapologetically that your presence reminds every room. She survived, she grew, and now she owns the ground she walks on. Don't ever forget, your comeback will always be stronger than your setback. You weren't buried, you were planted. And now that you've watered your soul with tears, trials, and truth, you're blooming in places they never imagined you could. You are no longer seeking approval. You are becoming the standard. You are no longer scared of being alone. Because now you know you'd rather walk alone in alignment than stay surrounded in confusion. And that right there is the difference between who you were and who you've become. So don't look back, don't wait for closure, don't soften your shine. The woman you've become is a force, a flame, a future that no past can touch. Let them feel your glow. In silence, in success, in strength. And if they ever ask what happened to the old you, tell them she leveled up quietly, elegantly, unapologetically. Laugh. Quietly, elegantly, unapologetically. unlaugh, in culture, in habits, and unapologetically take yourself out. The time has come to love yourself, to love who you are.